that might pass for archaeology, but to treasure hunting. Knowledge of the past was deemed less important than whatever booty it might provide, and funds for the plundering of such booty were supplied by or for various museums in quest of large and dramatic statues to place or display. Public demand for relics of this sort was considerable. Crowds would flock to museums to see the latest trophies, and the popular press would have a field day. But the trophies themselves were more an inspiration to the imagination and to imaginative speculation than to any form of scientific method. Flaubert's Salammbô, for example, published in 1862, represents an extraordinary feat of literary archaeology, a grandiose, imaginative attempt to reconstruct with meticulous scientific precision the splendor of ancient Carthage, but science itself had not yet caught up with Flaubert's aesthetic objectives. Certainly no historian had ever attempted to use scientific or archaeological data to bring ancient Carthage so vividly back to life. Until the mid-19th century, what passed for archaeology was more often than not a sorry business indeed. Wall paintings, carvings, and other artifacts would visibly disintegrate before the bemused eyes of their discoverers, who, of course, had no real concept of conservation. Priceless statues would be demolished in the search for some supposed treasure concealed within them, or they might be hacked into fragments to make transportation easier, and then lost when the barges transporting them sank to the extent that any systematic form of excavation was practiced at all. It had not yet been yoked to history to the principle of illuminating the past. The excavators themselves lacked the knowledge, the skill, and the technology to turn their discoveries to account. The acknowledged father of modern archaeology was the German-born Heinrich Schliemann, naturalized as an American citizen in 1850. From his boyhood, Schliemann had been a passionate admirer of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. He was firmly convinced that these epics were not mere fables, but mythologized history. Chronicles inflated to legendary status, perhaps, but still referring to events, people and places which had once actually existed. The Trojan War, Schliemann insisted, to the mockery and skepticism of his contemporaries, was an event in historical fact. Troy was not just a figment of a poet's imagination. On the contrary, it had once been a real city. One could use Homer's work as a species of map. One could identify certain recognizable geographical and topographical features. One could compute approximate speeds of travel at the time and thereby estimate the distance between one point and another cited by Homer. By such means, Schliemann concluded one could retrace the itinerary of the Greek fleet in the Iliad and locate the actual historical